Good morning. It is Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. Just got a software update this morning. As you can see, 2024.33.35, which is full self-driving 12.5.6.3. There's some new changes to speed management and some speed profiles built in. There's end-to-end highway FSD, which I won't be testing this morning, but we'll drive from the hospital back towards the neighborhood and see how it handles the barricade situation again. So I'll see if I can activate. And let's see, won't quite let me do auto steer yet since I'm in a parking lot, so let's drive out a little bit. You can see we have handy charging at work here. More and more employers are offering free electric car charging, which is kind of a plus. Most of which only give 20 to 30 amps of power, but that can still add around 20 miles per connected hour, which is good for free. So now we've activated the FSD. So it always now stops behind the lines and then creeps forward. So this is a Insta360 4K 60 frame per second camera in single lens mode, mounted on a selfie stick wedged between the driver's seat and the center console, as I've frequently done. This is just a 6-mile drive from door to door. Sunny day, 77 degrees outside in Central Florida. This is sort of the start of the good time of the year where it's not ridiculously hot, but quite pleasant for outdoor activities, whether golf, fishing, walking, etc. Though still warm enough, at least on most of the days, you could still go to the beach if you wanted to. There is another tropical storm in the southern Gulf of Mexico predicted to become a hurricane. This one, perhaps, the models say heading towards Central Florida via the Tampa Bay area again, but it's a long ways off right now. Since it's November 13th, this is pretty late in hurricane season. So the water temperatures aren't what they were even a month ago. So it says roll up or down to adjust the max speed, press left or right to adjust the driving profile. So we get a few more messages here since this is a new software version. It already had me adjust the speed offset from its internally determined maximum speed and recommended 40% above either the legal limit or its traffic flow speed if necessary. So we'll see how that works out. I'll probably have to do some highway driving to really understand fully how these speed profiles work. You can see it shows we're in standard speed profile as opposed to hurry or chill. This determines how aggressive we are at lane changes and trying to speed through traffic. So that was a little abrupt, the slowdown. It could have slowed that down a little sooner. So it had to brake fairly heavily there to keep us from meeting the Maserati up ahead. And again, that was pretty aggressive braking coming up to the stoplight. as it turned yellow. Somewhat of a late decision to decide to stop. That put the car behind us pretty close, as he was probably surprised by the aggressiveness of the braking. So they need to watch out for that. If you already know you're going to stop, you need to slow down less abruptly so that people don't have a tendency to run into your back of your car. But that's twice in a row we had aggressive braking. One to avoid hitting a car ahead, and one because the light had already changed to yellow. You can see there's a fair amount of traffic here in Poinciana, which is South Kissimmee in Central Florida. Poinciana is a group of neighborhoods with maybe a population of 70 or 80,000, and the vast majority of them work up in Orlando. There's just not that many employers in this mostly residential area, so the traffic northbound is always pretty heavy in the morning, just as the southbound traffic is heavy in the afternoon. So this time the braking was more smooth. All previous versions have been blind to the security barricades, the swinging barricades at the entrance to my neighborhood, as well as to various parking lots, condominium complexes. I haven't really had the opportunity to test this at train crossing barricades, but they're larger but pretty much the same. Though you do have other clues to railroad crossings, including map data and striping on the road, etc., and flashing red lights in many cases. So there's a possibility it would recognize those barricades, but fails to recognize the smaller barricades that only close one lane of traffic. But each of the last few tests, I've had to disengage the full self-driving before it would actually hit the barricades. It does a better job of seeing gates that swing open, but the barricade in front of the gate it's been totally blind to. Many of these barricades have lights, reflectors, stripes, so they're quite visible to the human eye and presumably to the camera. I just have to believe they're just not looking for them in the software, because they're not that subtle. They just need to pay attention in their software development to make the decision to do something about this issue. Obviously, their attention has been directed elsewhere. But I'll try it with each new significant version. So hopefully the day will come we can put that issue to rest. My neighborhood's fairly big, so even after passing the entrance, it's another 6 minutes to get to the house. Don't forget that if you enjoy this type of video, to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel to see more. This channel shows a variety of things, everything from history to music, to space launches, to aviation, to nature, as well as Tesla and other technology news. My other project recently is starting to write fiction. I have 2 books now available on Amazon and for Kindle. The first one is Secrets of Potosí, or in Spanish, Secretos de Potosí, which is a historical fiction / political science thriller, however you want to classify it, that follows a fictional couple on an adventure in Bolivia, but deals with local Bolivian politics now, as well as when the Spaniards first arrived 500 years ago. So the setting and the history and the politics are all real. Even gets into the lithium economy that drives, or that is driven by, electric vehicles. The second book, Heart of Venezuela, or Corazón de Venezuela in Spanish, is a more of a political medical thriller that takes place in modern-day Venezuela. where our hero couple embarks on a medical mission in the city of Maracaibo and gets involved in the political mess there. But this book, I think, is particularly interesting as it proposes a resolution to the Venezuelan and the Cuban problem. The third book is still in process. I'm still writing, maybe about 2/3 of the way through. Will take place in Cuba. All these books will show you things that are true in history and current events that most Americans are not aware of, but that I personally find fairly fascinating from reading a lot about the history of the Americas. I try to present a balanced view, showing both sides of these complex issues to make it easier to understand how we get to where we are and what possible paths there are for the future in these areas. You can find all these on Amazon.com. The audio versions are in production right now and will hopefully be available on Audible.com within the next month or two. That process is a little slow, the review process, once they're actually recorded and produced. But I've been pretty pleased with what I've heard so far from the professional readers that do the production. I'll put a link in the description down below where you can find the books if you have interest in history and politics of the Americas. I've actually posted a few excerpts of the audiobook versions of these books on the YouTube channel. You can look for those as well. I mentioned these are the first fiction books I've done. I also did a book called First Sunday that's already available in audio, Kindle, and paperback and hardback. That is a collection of church sermons given the first Sunday after the 9/11 attacks. I did this around 2011. That's available online. And then a second book, How to Steal from a Medical Practice, is all about embezzlement in private medical practices. How it happens, how to prevent it. And again, all of these are available on Amazon.com. Still pretty heavy traffic, red on the GPS here. We've only made it 2 miles from the hospital with 4 miles to go. As per usual, I'll speed up the non-speaking parts. So what do you think about the Tesla stock prices since the election is over? It's been going up ridiculously high. A little bit of drop yesterday. But many people feel that the lawfare or warfare using laws and regulatory agencies against Elon Musk is going to unburden Tesla and allow them to have more rapid success and development in various things they're involved in, everything from the Optimus robot to the other businesses such as SpaceX, etc. And that perhaps all of this government messing around with Tesla was holding the prices below true value prior to the election. Time will tell if this is sustainable, but most Tesla stockholders are pretty happy, and those that had short positions are pretty sad about now, which is kind of sweet. So we're 1.7 miles from having to make a right turn off of what is now Pleasant Hill Road in South Kissimmee, just north of Poinciana. So it's going ahead and get into the right lane earlier than it usually does, so that's nice. A complaint of many of us using FSD is this waiting to the last second to consider changing lanes and frequently missing turns and exits. I was driving through downtown Orlando on I-4, and it was supposed to turn right on Highway 408. I was northbound on I-4. It was very clear on the GPS, the route to be taken, and the car made no attempt at all, even without traffic, to get to the right lane and totally missed the exit, adding another 5 or 10 miles to the trip to get turned around and come back. No good explanation for that. That was on the previous version, 12.5.4.1. So we're in the right turn lane and making the turn. So we're getting close to where the barricade will be. Trucks are frequently parked here. So we pretty smoothly went around that. So again, it stopped short of the crosswalk, creeping up. There's a lot of sunshine over there, so it's very slow to pull out. And where are we going? Now it's trying to cross over the highway for some reason. The GPS has a bad map. So it's trying to take us through an apartment complex when it could have just turned right. So, oh, can't go there, can't go there, can't go there, stop. So there's a cable across this entrance here. So let's leave a voice record. Tried to drive through a cable blocking a parking lot. So let's back up if we can. So that was kind of a strange failure. So this time the GPS took a very odd route when it could have just gone straight. And as a result, tried to cut us through a parking lot that was blocked with a cable in front of the parking lot, which it would have run into, so I had to disengage. So let's see if I can pull up here and get the map to update. So now we've recalculated the map, so I'm going to reactivate the FSD right now. And let's see what happens. So I've never had it try to take that route before. It's as if it thought this route was blocked. But there's nothing on the map now to show it's blocked, so that was just a very strange choice by the GPS. But interestingly, the gate is broken, so we can't go through this way. So we're going to have to turn around, so I'm going to have to disengage because there's no automatic way to go around here because they blocked that off. These barricades are a nuisance. You can't go a week without somebody damaging these things. So they're constantly having to be repaired. People drive through them and get frustrated that they didn't have permission to come in. They didn't have the barcode on the car. So we'll head towards the other entrance to the neighborhood that also has barricade. So I'm driving manually until the GPS updates to show us the other route. So you'll know the road was blocked. It was obviously blocked. There was no other entrance. But the GPS did not have the sense to be able to re-navigate, or at least the GPS can't take advantage of what the FSD sees to reroute without assistance. That might be a suggestion for a future update. Supposedly, in a future version, the cars are going to be able to talk to each other about things like construction and traffic. This would be another example that one car could pass on to another that this entrance is not working, since there are plenty of Teslas around to gather that data. But getting real-time updates from all over the world pushed out to all the cars in an area probably would require a lot of bandwidth. And turn on Wi-Fi here. I've actually got a Starlink Mini that right now is giving a Wi-Fi connection to the car, and to my phone for that matter. I have it mounted to the glass above my head with suction cups, and I have an adapter plugged into the cigarette lighter plug to give it power. It gets blocked by heavy trees, briefly by overpasses, but works pretty well in motion. with variable bandwidth, anywhere from 5 megabits per second to almost 200 megabits per second. The longer you stay pointed in a particular direction, the higher the bandwidth tends to get. It takes it a minute or two to acquire and lock onto a signal once you power it up. But this is pretty handy if you're traveling and trying to get useful work done, as the connection certainly can be better than cellular. So again, the autopilot's turned off because the route has not updated to show the other entrance yet. But it should flip over soon. It's related. But while it's amazing that FSD can do any of this stuff, it definitely still has some bugs to be worked out. And it's supervised for a reason. You would just like to see some progress, but like a lot of software projects, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So again, there's another barricade here. So the left lane is for visitors, which goes to a guard shack, and the right lane is for residents who have a barcode. Usually I have to tell it to get in the right lane so it can go through the resident's lane, which is really a better test for FSD and the barricade issue. So we'll see, since we're turning into this right lane, if we'll just stay here this time. Again, I'll have my foot right at the brake pedal so I can disengage if necessary. So I can see up ahead there's a bunch of visitors waiting at the guard shack. They have to show their ID, etc. There is a bump that we generally slow down for, and usually what happens is it speeds up after the speed bump. And again, it was going to hit it, so I had to hit the brake. So one more time, it's blind to the barricade. So it slowed down for the speed bump and then started accelerating to the barricade until I hit the brakes. So that's it for today's video. No progress on the barricade issue and a strange navigation error when trying to go to the other barricade. So until next time, Dr. Don signing off.